Hi, I'm Ray Dubicki, and I'm going to tell you about this 2-year planning adventure I've undertaken called Being a Stay-at-Home Dad. I have two girls, ages 4 and 6. We live here in Seattle, and this project has changed my assumptions about how we build places. Prior to this project, I was one of you. The last PowerPoint I presented was at the APA conference in Chicago. I walked out of the conference and immediately packed up our 2,000 square foot suburban Baltimore house and shipped it across the country. We followed my wife to her new job in Seattle with a 900 square foot apartment, a booming economy, and the city's scenic topography, and me running a household in the great American West. After decades of regular work, I had expectations for this position. I thought it would be a job with hours and time off. I expected authority and being listened to. I found the girls can turn craft supplies into a bigger mess than any table of planners. But planners don't usually shoot you with glitter glue. I did expect pushback from other people about being a stay-at-home dad. I heard stories of dads getting excluded from volunteer positions for fear that they would be pedophiles. But this community is hugely accepting to many groups, including stay-at-home dads. I couldn't find a Mommy and Me yoga class to use it as an example in this slide. There were daddy-daughter dances at the community center, though. I love the girls, but I don't need to spend Saturday night with them, too. So, easy enough. No problems being a stay-at-home dad, right? A survey from Pew found that 51% of the public says kids are better off if the mother is at home, but just 8% of the kids are better off if dad is at home. I can also say that when I go to lunch with female friends, the assumption is that they are in charge of the children. The problem is that we have certain assumptions about boy work and girl work, and that shows up in the way we talk about our issues and in the way we build our public spaces. One assumption is that there are few stay-at-home dads. The numbers say the population is actually growing. Census and Pew Research say households with mom at home has dropped since the 60s, but the number of stay-at-home dads has doubled. Now there are 10 million stay-at-home moms and a million stay-at-home dads. More often, these men are staying at home by choice, not lack of a job, and they tend to be older than their female counterparts. Another assumption is that titles don't matter. For the girls, I am not their mother. She is an engineer for a tech company. I'm also not some mommy-daddy mashup. When I take the kids out, it's not mommy's day off. I don't need a job, thanks, I have one, so don't call me unemployed. Finally, it's assumed that dads are not vocal about their problems, so the problems aren't there. But for many guys, talking about problems and emotions is weakness. Guys have been trained away from this since birth. Dr. Michael Addis, in his book Invisible Men, points out this happens at 3 levels. Men don't want to publicly look weak. They keep private so as not to burden others, and they personally may not even have words for the things that they are experiencing. I've fallen into this trap. Publicly, we are awesome. I am 007 with a diaper bag. We visit museums and do science and post it all on Facebook. The flashes of brilliance are easy, but I am publicly silent on how hard it is to create a routine. It feels like moms get a ton of support on this. There's a Pinterest calendar industrial complex to help them. Not for dads. Silence can lead to invisibility, and invisibility can make it easier to find other less healthy ways to let it go. Privately, it's also very hard to ask for help. Even the simple act of typing "be a better dad" into the Google machine takes overcoming something deeply private. And when I do that, the search reinforces assumptions and offers little help. Mom blogs operate at this master's thesis level of parenting improvement. Dad blogs don't. They're at Don't Drop It 101. They talk simply about being there, deferring to your spouse, or protecting yourself after divorce. Personally, it's taken a lot to find the word helpless in my vocabulary, and there are 2 times stay-at-home parents feel helpless every day and always, and there's 1,000 things that reinforce that feeling. I lucked into finding a tremendous group of really supportive stay-at-home moms. I was lucky for 2 reasons. They never felt the need to keep their guards up around me. And second, that graciousness and generosity showed me the places where I was personally keeping my guards high. It took finding such a group who were reasonably comfortable with me to see where there are places that folks aren't quite as comfortable. We live in Ballard, home of the North Pacific Fishing Fleet, 8 breweries, and Edith Mayfield's house. It's very walkable with coffee and gyms and playgrounds in a lovely historic district. The walkability is vital for stay-at-home dads just to make new friends. The girls meet new playmates, I meet the mom, and I cannot immediately suggest she climb into my van and go somewhere. But I can offer we walk to a coffee shop with our kids. With school-age kids, the center of the community is the school or pre-K, with their half-mile walk circle shown here. My stride is feet longer than the kids. Have you ever tried to have a half-mile long tug of war with a kid? Yet we put all these family-supporting places really far from anything else people want to visit. It makes connecting school to community to friends more difficult. Playgrounds are a huge part of our recreation. They are surprisingly gender-specific for the parents. Kids love having me at the playground because I can put them on higher spots to climb and can catch them for daring leaps. Apparently, I look fun. But when I'm not surrounded by kids, I tend to be alone. You'll see that happens to most dads at the playground who do not show up frequently and regularly. I understand it's a personal safety thing. Is someone standing around checking their phone the real goal of a playground? I don't think so. So let's build playgrounds that let me exercise while the kids are enjoying themselves. Give me sight lines around the entire thing. And learning to ride a bike has shown us how discontinuous paths and playgrounds are. Finish the loop and slap a distance measure on there so I can count laps while watching the kids. As wonderful as these parks can be, nothing sends us home faster than a bathroom issue. As you may know, men's rooms are disgusting. You have no idea how pressing finding a clean bathroom can be until your 4-year-old says they really have to go. Through experience, we have created a map of the bathrooms in Ballard. Greens are great, yellow in emergencies, and just don't ask about the red ones. Most of these are businesses, including Starbucks, which are essentially paid toilets. But that leaves us with an important problem. I'm dragging the girls into men's rooms. We've been to the men's rooms where stalls were low enough for people to see over. We've been to ones where you have to walk through a men's locker room. When they were still being changed, it was a crapshoot as to whether there would be a changing table. Today, most establishments have 2 single-stall bathrooms, one for men, one for women. Why aren't both of them unisex? And all should have changing tables. And please, you have no idea how important an $8 IKEA stool is until your child soaks themselves at the sink. Which brings us back to the start and the assumptions we make. These are just some of the physical barriers our assumptions about gender create, which can be improved with good planning and good design if we want to see them. And separating gender from public spaces benefits more than stay-at-home dads. Safe bathrooms for the transgendered community, active playgrounds for aging residents, and walkable communities for everyone to feel safe. Then there are assumptions about how men should act. These are important to note because they're not indelible. Addis of The Wages of Silence Above calls this the gender paradox. The differences between genders are much narrower than the difference within genders. Most of the things we think are guy stuff are just that, things we think. And that's the last reason to talk about stay-at-home dads. Not to break down barriers for men, but because the assumptions are wrong, and everyone benefits when stay-at-home is not automatically assumed to mean dad.